Remember that time less than 4 months ago when Americans decided they needed to vote for Trump because of egg prices? Well, in this breaking story, you will not believe what is happening when it comes to eggs. Holy crap. But let's remember what J.D. Vance stood in a store and talked about just before the election. This.
I do think, unfortunately, look at the prices here. Things are way too expensive. Eggs, when Kamala Harris took office, were short of $1.50 a dozen. Now a dozen eggs will cost you around $4.
And then remember that moment when Donald Trump started attacking Mexico and Canada for the fentanyl invasion, rather than focusing on why we seem to like it so much? Canada? Really? Remember this?
Is it a drug war or a trade war? We've had a lot of tariff talk lately. That's because the Trump administration is using tariffs, they say, to pressure Canada and Mexico to stop illegal drugs, and in particular fentanyl, from entering the U.S. Now, no one wants fentanyl here. That shouldn't be here. It's a dangerously addictive synthetic opioid that over the last 20 years has killed, roughly 430,000 people, the whole category of illegal opioids. That's according to the CDC. And government data shows, here's the thing, a majority of the illicit fentanyl coming into the U.S. comes over the Mexican border. That's the seizure rate last year.
But both of those pale into comparison to the fact that with all that's going on in this country, the Department of Justice decided to investigate the price of eggs today since it's doubled per Joe Biden and Donald Trump. This.
Cracking, get it, the case. The Justice Department scrambling to investigate whether egg producers have had a hand in soaring prices.
Farmers have been dealing with this bird flu since 2022, but recently prices have gotten out of control. Take a look. Back in December, a dozen eggs was going to cost you around $4. Now it's closer to $7. And in February, a dozen eggs cost around $8. This is why the Justice Department is opening an investigation. They're looking into if major producers are violating antitrust laws by sharing information about supply and pricing, conspiring to keep prices higher.
And notice how she said 2022, which would be 2 years before Trump was president, meaning Biden was dealing with the bird flu. Maybe that was part of the issue with egg prices, and now they're double. So in this breaking story, you won't believe what's happening at the Mexico border. Take a listen to this regarding eggs and border security. Listen and watch. Holy crap. Breaking news, more eggs than fentanyl being seized in border crackdown. Donald Trump announced a crackdown at the border upon returning to office to stop the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. But in recent months, more eggs than fentanyl have been seized by border agents as prices soar, according to a report. Since October, border officers have seized 3,768 poultry-related products compared to 352 seizures of the deadly opioid, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, data shows. Egg interceptions are up 36% nationwide in the year starting in October compared to the previous year, the report found. In quotes, it's the price difference, Roger Mayer, a CBP spokesman, explained to the Wall Street Journal. The price is like a third of what it is in the U.S., he said. The surge in egg-based criminal activity is the latest sign of the lengths consumers and suppliers are prepared to go to get around surging prices.
The United States has been experiencing a significant surge in egg prices, with the average cost reaching $5.90 per dozen in February. While the price hike is primarily due to a severe avian influenza outbreak, some consumers are attempting to source cheaper eggs from neighboring countries, such as Mexico, where prices average under $2 per dozen. However, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has reported a 36% increase in egg smuggling incidents this fiscal year. Meanwhile, the U.S. has turned to several European countries, including Denmark, for egg imports to curb soaring prices.
Last month, a dozen of A-grade large eggs cost $5.90 on average, according to the Labor Department data. That's the highest price on record and a 97% increase on the $3 cost of the same box a year ago. Grocery shoppers in some regions have seen prices rise to $10 or more per box, while others have been faced with empty shelves. In New York, a new phenomenon has emerged of bodegas selling eggs outside of the box known as Lucy's in individually wrapped plastic bags. Restaurants have been forced to adapt to the trend, with Waffle House and Denny's among those recently adding a 50-cent surcharge for each egg added to a dish. Meanwhile, the shortages have even led to daring heists, such as one in early February, where 100,000 eggs with a market value of $40,000 were stolen from a distribution center in Pennsylvania. Officials are said to have been instructed to ask whether drivers are carrying eggs, at which point most people admit to their mistake. However, those who fail to reveal their illicit contraband may face charges of up to $300 for a first-time offense. Border agents are required to destroy any eggs recovered using established protocols, one agent told the outlet, explaining that the offending foodstuffs are placed in an incinerator. This is why, and this is the problem with politics, would be the slow-moving reality of the truth regarding certain subjects. It's all about narrative. It's all about social media. It's all about what you can convince people who don't read and don't listen what is true. Joe Biden was dealing with bird flu, which was having an effect on egg prices. But since Trump got into office, he managed to double them. But he has such sycophants in his administration that, of all things, Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice are going to go investigate whether or not there's egg farmer collusion with all that we have going on, having nothing to do with the reality of the bird flu. Think of that. Americans risking citations, felonies, smuggling eggs across the border. And yet you voted Trump in based on egg prices. You can't write that level of a paradoxical comedy. Whew. Stay frosty.